Maybelle. Oh, what a good little kitten. Come on, Maybelle. You're supposed to be a good little kitten. This is a hobby that got out of hand. It started when I was in my first year of college at the University of Chicago. This was the height of the folk music boom, 1959 through 63. It became an addiction. If I hadn't gotten a guitar in the past month, I was probably going to have withdrawal symptoms. And then it got to be a weekly need, and then it got to be a daily need. And feeding the daily addiction, it would be costly if all you were doing was buying. But at the beginning of each month, Mom and Dad would give me money for apartment rent and food and books and other expenses. And you can pretty well guess what I did with every penny of it. I bought guitars. But within a week or two, I'd have all the money they gave me back, so I would pay my rent and other bills on time, and I could continue collecting guitars. The guitars I really wanted were pre-World War II Martins, particularly the pearl-trimmed models, 42 and 45s. A good herringbone D28 in 68 or so was also about $400. But I'd much, much, much rather have the herringbone D28 than a 68 D28. And even in 1968, I knew that that older one was a better guitar. But it was a limited number of people who were really turned on to that and realized how much better they really were. So that changed pretty rapidly. By the early 70s, Crosby, Stills, Nash & Young were recording using old Martins. And there were plenty of other musicians who had discovered that the old ones were indeed better. And by 1970 through 75, the quality of a lot of new ones was at an all-time low. Martin's building better guitars today, 48 years later, than when I opened up my shop, than they were in 1970 when I first opened the shop. I remember very well how I met Thomas. A vintage guitar show that was held at the Frankfurt Messe show. He had a couple of samples with him, and they were very impressive. When I first met him, known pretty well exclusively as a classical guitar dealer and builder, these were his first prototype steel string guitars. And even now, a lot of what he builds is classical guitars. But his training as a classical builder is something he put to use with steel string guitars. What Thomas did is he built guitars utilizing a dovetail joint like Martin rather than a Spanish heel like many classical builders do, but he used French polish finish, hide glue, the individual blocks rather than kerfed linings. And so he used an amalgam of different techniques to come out with a guitar that was very sophisticated in its appearance, its playability, and its sound. His instruments have a crispness, clarity, dynamic range, and just a resonance and good harmonic response that in some ways reminds me of a classical guitar, but with power of a steel string guitar. And the handling characteristics also, even the feel of them, is not really identical to a Martin. It's different, but there's room for more than one good voice. He puts a heck of a lot more hours into one of his guitar than would be found in any similarly ornamented factory-made instrument. And even in the 1930s, Martin would not have put as many hours into crafting a guitar as he does today. One can debate who is the best guitar builder out there, but there's no question in my mind that Thomas Fredholm is extremely talented, and that his instruments are among those that it can be a matter of personal preference as to which is best. And you already have a list of plenty of people who use and endorse his guitars, and the reputation is well deserved.